I mean, I did a routine blood thing back in July a year ago. And Dr. Sherman called me and, no, actually his nurse called me and said, Dr. Sherman has set up an appointment with you over at the Providence Cancer Center. He said, your PSA is 108. Whew. So, I'm not too happy about that. So, went over there and they checked my PSA again, just to be sure. It was 108. So then they gave me some x-rays and they shot me up with this radioactive stuff. And then you come back an hour or so later and then they do imaging, you know, do a bone scan. That's tedious. You got to lay there perfectly motionless. And it does your top, takes 1 hour. Then it does your bottom, 1 hour. Then you gotta wait, come back a couple days later, whatever, for the results. And you know, I know the doctor, they learn certain bedside manners, I guess. You know, and he said, well, we got some spotting going on here. And got some here in the shoulders and the neck and the knees and the legs. And the hip, and the spine, and the jaw, and the skull, and a little spotting going on. In other words, you are all eaten up with cancer. And he said, there's nothing we can do to improve your condition. Nothing. But he said, but we can probably get you, you know, 6 months to a year. Put you on Casodex for a few weeks, and then we start giving you luprin shots. You know, we'll starve out the testosterone, and that should buy you another 6 months. Woof. I mean, just picture yourself sitting there and hearing that. So, wow. So I went home and thinking about that. And my wife said, well, you know, we just do what he says, and you know, and you know, you'll have a while yet. And so, wow. And I know, you know, at the end of the day, I told my wife, I said, I'm not taking this too well. And I felt sorry for my wife. She said, I know. She said, what can I do? I said, I don't know. I don't know. And then the second and the third day, I was sitting on the sofa, I think about the third day, and I said, honey, I am not doing very well with this. She said, I know. And then Dr. Coleman, he wrote me a prescription for the Casodex, and she says, well, why don't we go get that prescription filled, and at least we'll be doing something positive, you know. And I said, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, you don't have much choice. I said, well, maybe I do. So, let's see, that was a Friday, so I called Jimmy. You know, I met Jimmy yesterday, and I told him my situation, and I said, is there anything you think we can do? And he said, yeah. He said, I'll work with you. Okay. So we went over there, and it was Friday though, but he closes Friday. He's not open Saturday, although I think he's open till noon. The gym is open. So I had to wait till like Monday or Tuesday to make an appointment with him. But I had determined, just after talking to him, that I was not going to take the Casodex or the luprin shots. That I was going to do something. I knew, you know, that couldn't help me. It would just maybe buy me a few extra a month, because if you can completely starve the testosterone, I mean the cancer from getting testosterone, it kind of shuts it down for a while. But you can only do that for a few months and then it doesn't work. So I was 3 days of hell. And you talk about being humbled. I mean, it's one thing to know you're going to die. We all know that, right? It's another thing to know you're going to die in a couple of months. You know? I mean, that's when it really sets you back, you know? But when I made that decision, I was going to ask God to heal me, and I would repent and do what I knew would be best, you know, just flood my body with the most potent, high-quality nutrition possible. And I had a calm come over me, kind of a serenity. And that's been over a year now. That's been a year and 3 months ago. And I can honestly tell you, I have never had thoughts of, oh, woe is me, and man, this whole thing is just killing me. This is, you know, I can't go there. I can't. No. Nope. I haven't felt good, you know. Actually, I felt better last November, December, January, and stuff than I have the last 6-8 months. But I have not had it. I have not been spiritually depressed since that third day when I decided I'm not going to take all those drugs and stuff. So, I mean, God knocked the props out from under me, but in 3 days He propped me up again, see? And I've been propped up for over a year now. And of course this thing was going to be expensive. It's now run into tens of thousands of dollars. My treatment, tens of thousands of dollars. I take over 100 supplements a day. You come over to my house, I have this one tray that sits on top, then we got boxes of stuff underneath. My wife fills up these, you know, daily things, you know. I take, what does I take? Nine times a day. I take 4 pills, 6 pills, 7 pills, 5 pills, you know, whatever. 52 or something pills. But then I have what I call my nasty drink. And I have this one box of stuff on the counter. And there are 12 things that go into my nasty drink, you know. So Jimmy is not expensive. I pay like $35 for a consultation. Sometimes we go an hour. You know, when you got 2-3 doctor's degrees, you counsel somebody for an hour or more for $35. It doesn't get any cheaper than that. So Jimmy is not greedy. So God has given me practical experience with the stuff I'm talking about, you know. So don't talk to me about I got some ego to protect. I don't know. Not protecting no ego. Yeah.
Well, you know what I've talked to you about, you know, because when I found out my situation like you, I called you, and God does know, He does know how to humble.
He sure does.
Situation, mine's something like yours.
Timothy has in his throat cancer, your vocal cords and stuff.
God does know how to humble you in the situation.
But Timothy doesn't have a bad attitude. He doesn't hate God for it, you know. I fully realize that if I'm going to be a teacher, I got to put my money where my mouth is, you know. And so from that perspective, you know, I can thank God that I have cancer. You know, something good will come out of it. Even if I die, something good will come out of it. Okay? And All right, I guess everybody's back. We're trying to get a page of notes that Dr. Steger put together that he was going to go through with you, if we can get him back here fairly soon. He went to the front office to see if they can duplicate them. I thought it would be a good thing. Some people have had an interest in my doctor ever since I was told I only had a few months to live. Some of you have even contacted Dr. Steger, and others of you, maybe nutrition is not much of a big deal to you. You say, I'm fairly healthy, I eat pretty good, and so on. But the truth of the matter is, if you're like the rest of humanity, as you get older, you're going to get weaker, and you're going to have infirmities, and you're ultimately going to die of a disease. They talk about dying of old age and stuff. No one dies of old age. That's not a disease. Old age is not a disease. Everyone who dies of either trauma, poisoning, or a disease. They've never done a biopsy on anyone that was totally disease-free, So it would behoove us to learn all that we can. Some people, one person particularly likes to poke fun at 1 Timothy 6:20, where it talks about, he says, "O Timothy, keep what is committed to your trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called." And some use that to do a slam dunk on science and the scientific method. They say the Bible condemns it, which is nonsense. And the scriptures know nothing of the word science. The word is just knowledge. Why that one place they translated science is, it's knowledge. It just has to do with knowledge. So science is not a boogeyman or the scientific method, Now, using drug therapy and calling it a healing art, that's a boogeyman, But true science is good. In Daniel it says, in the latter days men shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. So now with satellites and our modern technology, everybody learns from everybody. And we have at our fingertips the combined knowledge of the world and its greatest scientists. And so there's a lot of good knowledge out there. And we've learned more about the workings of the body in the last 10 or 20 years than they knew in the first couple of thousand. So Dr. Steger, he's a scientist, and he's got bona fide degrees. He's got a doctorate in nutrition, and he's got a PhD. And he also believes the scriptures. So, I trust his word, and he brought a couple of things with him, which I said, to bring some of his stuff. He just finished writing a book called The Nutrition Factor, which sells for $29.95. You give it to anybody today for $25. And then there's a tape. It's just $20. So it might be well worth your time. I don't know of anybody who has more basic and yet profound knowledge than Dr. Steger. I mean, he is to me, I think he's a genius when it comes to body chemistry. I think he's a genius. So, without any further ado, as they say, my physician and my friend, Dr. Jimmy Steger. Okay, you want to give him that mic? He's gonna give him that mic.
This one right here. And over this one right here.
This is not working. That's working too.
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'd like to first of all thank Mr. Smith for allowing me to come out here and speak with you people today. I'm going to real quickly give a little take on something Mr. Smith talked on a minute ago. And if we got the literature, which I believe Mr. Smith has had done for you, normally when I do seminars, we're used to doing really big seminars with mass amounts of people. And it's good today to see a smaller group here because we can be a little bit more personal, which I love to do. And he's going to be handing out a sheet. It's called Health Tips for Wise Nutrition, which we're going to speak from. But when we have these small groups and we have the affordability to be able to get these out to people, I love to speak from that. So as you're passing that out, I'm going to say a few things. And then as you have that in front of you, then we're going to go through this. And that way you have everything that I'm saying in front of you. So instead of trying to write notes, which so many of us try to do wherever we go throughout the country, in school, in college, doing seminars, trying to write as fast as a guest speaker speaks, sometimes that's almost impossible. So I know through all my years of writing and studying, I started doing this at 5 years of age. Before I was 12 years of age, I'd read 175 medical books. And before I was 17, I was teaching biochemistry at one of the biggest universities in the country. And I'd never taken a day of college in my life. So that was my start in the health field. I have spent 20 plus years in China studying with 200-year-old people. And so when people say, well, why hadn't I heard of that? Well, you hadn't been to China. You hadn't been to the Hunza Valley in Pakistan. You hadn't been to Japan. And if you have, you just haven't seeked these people out. When I was a young child, and I started trying to figure out what is the problem with these kids in my classroom at 5 years of age having this green stuff run out of the side of their nose, I'd look at my mom and I'd say, Mother, what was that stuff coming out of that child's head? She'd say, Son, that child's sick. And I would say, well, Mom, what is sick? Well, at the age of 5 or 6 years of age, I had never been sick a day in my life. And so I was a pretty different child at a young age. And I consider myself a little different now because I've spent my entire life dedicated to the study of the human body. When I was about 17 and I graduated from high school, we didn't have the cell phones, as many of you know. We didn't have the internet. So I had to try to seek and find the oldest living people in the world through books and through newspapers and through flying all over the country. That's pretty hard to do in 1979 and 1980 when there is no internet and we don't have the ability to do what we have nowadays, which is pretty phenomenal to say the least. Sometimes I think the internet can be really negative and bad. I guess it depends on how you use it, but thank God for the internet now. We have people like Mr. Smith who can publish what he does on his website and give all of us people around the world this incredible knowledge from the Lord's Word, which is the most important. But to say the least, when I was traveling around the country trying to seek these old people out, I would go in these villages and ask them who was the oldest person in their village. And they'd say, well, we have Win Won Soon up here in the mountains of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and he's 150. And I'd say, well, take me there. So I'd go up there and I'd stay with this person, and I'd stay with these people who are 140, 150 years of age and live with them for a week or two at a time and try to figure out what was the common denominator here. Well, at 17, 18 years of age, and you're sitting there talking to somebody that's 150 plus years of age, you feel like you're in a time warp, to say the least. Now, if you can just imagine us living in a world of black and white, we don't live there anymore. Okay? Well, when I was 17 and 18 years of age, my ability to be able to be very proactive and progressive in the thought of the human body, the human mind, the framework, and the Spirit of the Lord, I wanted to find out everything I could about this. So I knew that Mobile didn't have what I wanted to study from in the form of college education, so I sought the oldest people, the greatest people in the world in the form of naturopathic medicine, nutrition, chiropractic. And I flew all over the country and studied and lived with these people. And I went to school in California because Mobile didn't have anything to offer back then. And a lot of the colleges, unfortunately, still don't have anything to offer in the field of nutrition. So you have to go to a specialty school. Well, I'm 47 years of age now. I spent 27 years in college, got 6 doctorate degrees in nutrition, naturopathic medicine, and biochemistry. And so I paid my dues not only from a perspective of reading and writing, but from experience of living with people. I've got on video, and one day I'm going to put this on my website. We just hadn't gotten around to it. A guy that's 250 years of age that I lived with, who just recently passed away in Japan 3 years ago, and still had black hair. No cavities, no arthritis. And if you don't think that's not amazing, by the time you finish speaking to somebody like that, you'll look around you and think the whole world's one big lie. Just like what you're studying or trying to seek with the Word. And basically we are living in a big lie. Okay, I don't care what field you're in, but in the field of health and the field of the Word, Lord Jesus Christ, we are living in one big lie. And if you go to most of these churches out here, and I know I'm a Methodist, born and raised a Methodist, and I don't seek out any denomination, and I don't claim that anybody knows any more than the other. But I can clearly say this, and most of the churches and the people out there have been lied to their entire life about the Word, which is what you're studying here. Well, it's no different in the healthcare field. It's truly unfortunate that we're living in one big sin, one big lie. That's the reason this first line that we're going to talk about in a moment talks about the true sins of civilization. Okay? From a nutrition perspective. Now, you know, most people in this country, Mr. Smith kind of touched on it, so I'm going to take off from there, talked a little bit about dying from disease. You know, the Bible clearly tells us He's going to give us 120 years on this life if we abide by His dietary laws. He says, if you don't, I'll put you in the grave 60 years early. Well, why is so many people in this country at the age of 60 and 70 years of age dying? They're not dying of old age, because that's a lie. Okay? So anybody that thinks that your loved ones that are 70 or 80 years of age are getting decrepit just because it's old age, that's not true. Okay? I take care of a lot of people in this country. I have a gentleman in New Jersey I take care of, 98 years of age, who still competes in bodybuilding. Some of you say, well, that'd be a sight. Well, not really. Guy looks like he's about 60. What does a 60-year-old person supposed to look like? Let's be realistic here. Okay? If you take care of yourself and you put the proper nourishment in your body, by the God's, the one and only Lord Jesus Christ will save you. He will heal you. He will give you what you need. And it's out there. It's just you have to seek it. It's just like what you're doing here. You're trying to seek the correct Word. Well, if you eat the proper foods that you need for your cells to survive and to heal themselves, ladies and gentlemen, your body will heal itself because God is the master physician. Now, if you break the dietary laws and continue to break those, and then abide by the dietary laws that the Lord has set forth for us, you're going to fail. You're going to go down. You may call it aging. You can call it disease. Well, the medical industry wants you to call it disease because there's 300 different diseases out there, and they have a pill for every one of them. Unfortunately, those pills don't work. Okay? And I can do a whole spiel on that all by itself, but we're not going to touch on that right now. We're going to talk about this piece of paper that you have in front of you because I've laid it out in layman's terms, something that we hope that you can understand and absorb, which is the way I like to speak to people. And if you have any questions afterwards, I'd be glad to talk to you back there, back at the table. As Mr. Smith said, we have a new book that I've got out called Nutrition Factor. It's got all this in it and more. Okay? And it will really open your eyes and enlighten you on what's really going on in this country and throughout the world. Mr. Smith told me earlier he's got some people here from England. Who are those people? Whereabouts in England are you from? London? I have a lot of patients in London. Wimbledon? Yeah, I'm over there every year. So you'll have to you email me and I'll see you maybe the next time I'm over there. I have patients all over the world. And I specialize in nutrition and the proper teaching of what's really going on out there in this country so that people like yourselves can gain knowledge and then go out and spread that amongst your families and other loved ones that have maybe one of these, quote, diseases, okay? And what's really amazing about our country is that almost everybody has some type of issue, some type of problem. And when a patient comes to my office, they may come in there, and what's really interesting, we'll have people come in from time to time, and they'll say, well, there's really nothing wrong with me. I just want to be on a good health program. I want to be on a good diet. Okay, well, we can take care of that for you. Well, by the time they finish our hour consultation, you find out they really got about 4 or 5 major things going on. Oh, I forgot to tell you about my Crohn's disease, my gout. Oh, yeah, I've had heart disease. I've had bypass surgery. I got 5 stents. Oh, but you're healthy? Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You're not healthy if you got those kind of issues. You got some serious problems going on. And what we do is we educate you on why you got those, and then we help you correct that from a preventative standpoint. And if it's not from a preventative standpoint, it's from a curative standpoint, from putting proper nutrition in the body so the cells can rebuild themselves. Now, every cell in the body has the ability to rebuild itself every 7 years. That's the reason our body goes through levels of 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, and so forth. Every 7 years, your life takes on a different dimension. Anybody ever told you, or you've maybe told your own children that, if you don't like this food now, just try it. A little bit later on, you'll like it. That's because the cells in the body change every 7 years. The taste buds change every 7 years, and you will like something different 7 years later if you don't like it now, maybe. Maybe you won't. Some of us have never liked certain things. Maybe that's mentally, sometimes it's truly something we just don't like. But the cells in the body have the ability to do that. The liver can rebuild itself totally in 7 months. The heart, 7 years. The brain, 7 years. The bones, everything. So if you take a person that's got an issue at 7 years of age, and you put them on a good nutrition program, which most kids in this country, as well as adults, are not on any type of good quality eating program, you have the ability to change the entire body the next 14 years for the good, for the betterment of yourself. I've seen kids come to me that were 3, 4, 5, 6 years of age having major issues in their body because the parents just didn't know. Just like everybody else in the country, they're ignorant to proper diet. It's not your fault, it's our country's fault for not getting people in front of you to educate you. And when we don't know, we just don't know. But you have the ability to go out there and seek, just like you're doing with the good book in front of you. And if you go out and seek, like Mr. Smith did, and he's constantly always seeking and trying to find different and better things and better angles, and I commend him for that. But most importantly, he's with us today. So, with that being said, if any of you have any questions, direct questions, as soon as I finish, I'll meet you in the back. I'll be glad to talk to you personally one-on-one. I love answering questions. I know a lot of the people in the world that are considered some of the big names out there, and I know them all. Dr. Andrew Wild, Jordan Rubin. I've been with all of them. I've done seminars with all of them. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, their heart and their spirit's not in the right place. If that's not first, then nothing else matters. And I've seen a lot of people that consider themselves specialists or professionals in this field, but very, very few people walk the walk. And when it comes to eating like what we're fixing to talk about here, I'll walk that walk, talk that talk. 47 years of age, I've never been sick, never had a cold, never had a flu, never had a virus, never missed a day of school, never missed a day of work, ever. How many people do you know can say that? The Lord has blessed me 100-fold over when it comes to this issue. However, He's also given me the ability and insight to study my entire life on what we're fixing to talk about. And when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to the human body, the framework, what we call the chemical type, there's 20 different types of people walking the face of this earth. And only 20 different types of people. And in this room, I only see 8. Okay? So we've got a large variety of people that's not in this room that make up the rest of our society. Now, within those 20 different chemical frameworks of the body, they all have a different composition of different nutrients in the body that make them up, that make them who they are truly. That's why, as a professional martial artist, and I compete all over the world, I won the world championship 8 times straight. When I step into the ring with someone, I can look at them as soon as they step in the ring and tell you how good they are. By the way they walk, by the face, by the hands, and by their gesture. And that's what I studied in China for 16 plus years. It's called physiognomy, the study of the facial features and the way a person is based off their chemical type. That's why when a patient walks into my room, before they ever open my mouth, I can tell them everything about them. And when they look at me, they go, "This guy's crazy. I've never seen nothing like this in my life." Well, you know what I really like to do? And when I do these big seminars, thousands of people in these churches, which I love to do churches because we're speaking from the Lord's perspective, which I consider always has to be first, is I love to take people that are in the healthcare field, that are sitting on the front row, that are skeptics behind naturopathic doctors or homeopaths or nutritionists or herbalists, and tell them what's wrong with them before they ever open their mouth. I tell them one or two things about them, and they say, "This is crazy. I went to college for 8 or 10 years to get a medical doctorate degree, and I never heard this in my life." Well, you know what? It's not voodoo. It's not some crazy, far-off-the-wall fetch thing that I do to make people think that I'm some god. I'm not. I'm just like you. I just have a little something I can offer to you to help you. And really, really, the key to all this is that if your heart and mind is in the right place, your feet will follow. And mine have always been in the right place from that perspective because I've seen a lot of friends of mine fall. I always tell my people that come to me, I'm the guy on the outside of the glass that's always looked in and watched everybody else fall apart and tried to pick them up and put them back together. Some of them, we didn't make it because they didn't listen. They were too hard-headed, too bone-headed, okay? And you know what? A lot of them did listen, and now they're out of prison. They're doing well. They're doing good for themselves. Not only from a standpoint of the Spirit, the Word, but from the standpoint of their health. Health and what the Lord has to say fit hand in hand in hand. What I tell a lot of preachers that come to me is, "Reverend," I said, "you're preaching from the wrong word." And they said, "What do you mean, Dr. Steger?" I said, "Well, let me tell you what. This guy's 70, 80 pounds overweight. He comes to me like most of these preachers do. Been eating a little bit too much, okay, like most people in this country. And I said, if you're preaching the Word, and every day when you let them out at 12 o'clock noon, you're going out there feeding them fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and tea and coffee. I said, what are you going to do when you kill all your congregation? Who are you going to have to speak to then? You're not going to have anybody." And they think about that and they go, "You know what, you're right." I said, "Well, let's get you on track, and then let's talk to the people in the church. Because if you start leaning out, you start getting healthy, and you start changing, people's going to listen to you a little bit more." Okay? Now, if we look around, most of the people in this country are not on any type of program that's even closely related to what God wants us to do. Why is that? Is it because the preachers, the reverends, the leaders in our country are not speaking the correct word? If we think about it, truly think about it, and once again, it doesn't matter what denomination you are, it doesn't matter where you go to church, it doesn't matter who you follow. How many preachers have ever done a complete service on proper eating? Have you ever been to a church that did that? I never have, and I've been to all of them. Methodist, Baptist, Catholic, Episcopalian, I've been to all of them. Church of God. Because I want to learn from everybody. I don't think anybody's any better. I think it's all in your heart. And if you got a right leader in front of you that's speaking the true Word of God, he can help you. But it comes from your heart. It comes from your own soul, your own spirit. So, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about these health tips. And like I said, if you have any questions, please save them. I'm going to go through this very quickly, but try to make it very informative, but in a way in which you can understand this. We typed it in a way which hope that you'll pick up on this. Talk about this real quickly. Sins of civilization. Too much sugar, salt, white flour, fat, wheat flour, irradiated food, smoking, alcohol, and drugs. Well, the last three we pretty much all know about. Let me talk a little bit about wheat flour and why wheat flour is on this list. Because a lot of people say, well, Dr. Steve, I gave up white flour years ago and we just eat wheat flour at our house now. Well, you know that 29% of the people in this country eat too much wheat flour, which causes problems. Wheat flour is very high in gluten, which causes the red blood cells to stick together. If you have a disease, any type of disease, metabolic disease in this country, especially cancer or AIDS, wheat flour will help that metastasize and grow tremendously. Why? Because if the red blood cells are sticking together, the cancer cells have the ability to jump from cell to cell and metastasize and take over your whole body. So wheat flour is an advancement from white flour. However, if you're doing wheat flour, you should be eating foods like the Bible tells us. Either Ezekiel bread or Essene bread. Both are listed in the Bible. Okay? I try to tell people to stay away from wheat flour as a whole because of the gluten factor. Very, very high in gluten. It's going to cause your red blood cells to stick together. It's not healthy in any way, form, or fashion. If you're totally healthy, which, once again, I've been doing this stuff a long time. 29 plus years, 27 on my own, 2 years as a nutritionist for a local doctor in Mobile before I ever opened up my clinic. And I've never seen a healthy person ever walk in my clinic. And once you talk to them a few minutes, they'll tell you, oh yeah, I got this, I got this. Well, that's the problem. We have some real issues in this country. Okay? So wheat flour is very important that if you're going to eat it, you better be healthy. And you better know you're healthy. And most importantly, you better know that your pH is 7.4. If not, your pH will drop very quickly from putting wheat flour in your body because it is an acid-forming nutrient. So, stay away from wheat flour unless you know that you're in really, really good top physical health and you don't have any type of sinus problems. Because a lot of people are allergic to wheat. Okay? Really, if we back up and we look at sugar a second, the problem with refined sugar is in itself it is an empty calorie, it's a void calorie. It serves no purpose in the human body, and it causes cancer or any type of metabolic disease to grow very fast, very quickly. And if you have any type of problems with sinus, any type of problems with your joints, any type of problems with your lungs, sugar will make this 10 times worse. If you take a little child, and most of our children are being fed white refined sugar daily. White refined sugar is white death. It is poison to your entire body. Okay, now, if we take 1 teaspoon of refined sugar and we put this in the body, it destroys the thymus gland for 8 hours. The thymus gland is responsible for your immune system. If you do not have an immune system, ladies and gentlemen, your body doesn't have the ability to produce white blood cells, which means you can't fight off any type of disease. So let's look at this a second. 1 teaspoon destroys the thymus gland for 8 hours. If you drink 1 cola, which has 8 teaspoons in it, how many hours have you destroyed your ability to be able to produce the natural killer cells, natural K and T cells from the thymus gland? So for up to a day and a half to 2, your body has no immune system. That's off of 1 cola. There's many other foods out there like donuts, like candy, like Snickers bars, like Three Musketeers, what have you, that have the same amount of sugar in them, if not more. Sugar is poison. If you don't think it will ruin your system, keep eating it. Watch what happens. Your hair will fall out of your head. Your kidneys will get weak. It'll destroy your heart. It's horrible. Stay away from refined sugar. Salt. Salt is a dehydrating agent. It dehydrates the heart muscle and will shrivel the heart up to nothing. So for all you people out there that are taking large amounts of sodium chloride in your body in the form of table salt, please get rid of salt. White flour. I can't say enough about white flour in the form of negativity. White flour has the ability to stay in the colon 8 to 12 years. If you don't think that will clog your colon up, I got news for you. That's the reason one of the first things I do to all my patients when they come to me is after about 4 to 6 weeks on a good sound nutrition program, I get them and take them through a complete cleanse to detoxify the meat and the white flour out of the colon. White flour is poison to your colon. Now, there's a part of the colon that's called the transverse colon. The colon goes up, over, and down, and out of the body. The upper part of the colon, which is called the transverse colon, is where the neurons in the brain, called the neural arc reflexes, are connected to the brain. Okay. Now, if the transverse colon is clogged up, you can't think correctly. I have people come to me all the time, and they say, Dr. Steger, I can't remember names anymore. I'm fuzzy-minded. I can't think. I know some of you in here going, Lord, he's talking about me. Well, sound like all of you. And this happens daily. Okay, so you're not out there alone. I mean, there's a lot of your friends and a lot of people out there saying, you know what, Ralph, I'm the same way, buddy. I forgot his name. I forgot his phone number the other day. White flour will clog up the transverse colon where you will not have the ability to be able to think anymore. So that's the reason one of the first things I do, I declog people, shall we say, do them a nice colon liver cleanse, detoxify the body. And they come back into me saying, you know what, I'm feeling better. Can I stay on that colon cleanse? I said, no, you can't stay on it forever. It's time to go back to eating now. But really and truly, you can do yourself a lot of justification, a lot of good by doing a colon cleanse. Now, everything I say to my people, I tell everybody in my practice, has to make sense to you or you don't need me. So listen to this for a second. If you drive your car and you never change the oil or the filter in your car, it's not going to last very long, right, gentlemen? We all know this, especially you that do any kind of work on vehicles. I know I raced motocross for many years, so I'm very much in tune with motors and building motors and things of that nature. If you don't change that oil, your motor's not going to last very long. Well, guess what your filter is in your body? Your liver. If we don't take your liver and cleanse your liver a couple times a year, you're not going to be around very long. I promise you. Okay? And the Lord will back me on that. Okay? We have to take and change the chemistry of the body. We have to take and cleanse the body. We have to cleanse the filtering agents, the kidney, the liver, the spleen, purify the colon, get everything detoxed a couple times a year. If you don't do that, you're not going to be around very long. Why do you think so many people's health starts to deteriorate at about 30 or 35 years of age? You just can't hang on very long if you don't cleanse the body. It's a spiritual cleansing too. It's like people come in, they get saved. They accept the Lord Jesus Christ, their Savior. Okay? He's going to cleanse you. He's going to wipe away your sins. Well, let me tell you what. And you don't have to look back. The Lord guarantees it. It's right there in writing. And you can bank on it if it says it. Okay? I'm telling you the same thing when it comes to cleansing the human body. If you don't detoxify your body a couple times a year, you're setting yourself up for some type of disease. And colon disease, colon cancer, is not a pretty thing. No form of metabolic disease in the body is needed, necessary, or a part of what we're supposed to go through. God didn't invent you to suffer. He didn't want you to suffer. You should be healthy. You should be able to go out and share the Word, help other people. You can't do that if you don't feel good. If you can't walk around, if you can't speak, like Mr. Smith coming up here speaking in front of you. He couldn't make that possible if he didn't have the ability to be up here and stand in front of you. Sure, he does a phenomenal job on the internet. Probably the best. Incredible speaker. Great guy. I love him to death. But you know what? If he wasn't here in front of you today, he wouldn't be able to share more truth, more biblical truth, more knowledge to you to help you out. Amen? This is important. Make sure you detoxify your body. All right. Take a high-quality vitamin mineral supplement daily. Vitamins run the body and minerals build the body. All diseases of man are due to mineral deficiencies. There's 22 basic minerals in the human body we need on a daily basis. If you are deficient in one of those minerals, you will suffer from up to 10 different metabolic diseases. 10. It's just from one mineral deficiency. That's the reason whenever I do a nutrition test on my people, when they first come to me or they call in, we do a VMT test on our people and show them on paper what they're deficient in. And when they see that, they can just about look at that and say, now I understand. Now I understand why this is happening, or why this is hurting, or so forth. If you look at your vitamin, mineral, and amino acid structure of your body, it builds the entire body. Minerals are the catalyst to everything that happens in the human body. Vitamins and amino acids are the supporting structure. Minerals take years to build up and put back in the system where they're supposed to be. Vitamins and amino acids take very little time. But the vitamins and amino acids cannot get to the cell unless the minerals are there first. So if you're going out and taking a hard multivitamin, mineral, amino acid complex formula, and your minerals are not where they need to be, you can forget the vitamins and amino acids because they're not going to do their work. Get those there first. We can talk about that later if you're interested. Give me a call. We'll be glad to go over that with you. Minerals are the key. Everybody dies from mineral deficiency. Number 3, eat 1 salad per day with a rainbow of colors. Stay away from iceberg lettuce. Iceberg lettuce will put you asleep. So we give to babies when you want to put them to sleep at night. Juice some iceberg lettuce and give it to them. They'll be out in just a second. So if you eat iceberg lettuce at lunch or dinner and wonder why you're so sleepy, maybe you better look at what you just ate. Ladies and gentlemen, we dig our grave 1 bite at a time. We don't need a backhoe. The backhoe's right here. Okay? And I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, you try it. You try changing what you're doing and watch the difference in your health, your physical stamina, your entire body will change. Very, very important. When we talk about salads, we talk about spinach salads, kale, romaine's not bad, arugula's not bad, but stay away from the lighter lettuces. It serves no purpose in the body. It's just basically water. Okay? So when you're dealing with salads, we suggest to all of our people eat 1 big healthy salad a day. Why? Because it acts like a scrub brush and goes through and cleanses the colon. If you eat it first, which you should, it sets up the rest of the body for what's coming behind it. So make sure you do your salads first when you eat, not last. Number 4, good protein advice. Eat fish or chicken only once or twice weekly. Egg whites may be eaten 3 times per week. Nut butter, 1 tablespoon 3 times per week. Nut milks, 8 ounces twice a week. Almonds are the king of nuts. Sesame seeds are the king of seeds. Lentils the king of legumes. And these can be eaten on a daily basis. Now let's back up. Eating fish or chicken only once or twice a week. Why is that? Because you notice I didn't say beef. You notice I didn't say pork. Beef or pork should never be consumed. It's not meant to be eaten. Why is that? Let's look at the structure and framework of the human body. Now let's go back a little bit. If you look at any kind of animal that has flat teeth, that doesn't have big canines, and the teeth are basically flat, that body is designed to eat fruits and vegetables and nuts and seed. That's the reason our jaws go up and down and sideways. If you see any kind of animal with a large canine hanging out the front of their mouth, like a tiger or a dog, they're designed to eat meat. Why? Because their colons are very short and meat passes through it in about 3 to 6 hours. It takes meat 7 to 10 days to go through our colon. If we eat beef and pork, which is poison to the human body, I don't care whether it's free range or not, it's not meant to be eaten. In the Bible, they only ate it on festive occasions. You will have serious colon problems, and men, you will develop prostate issues very quickly if you eat large amounts of meat. Some of you may be 60, 70 plus years of age in this room and say, oh, well, Sonny, I hadn't developed any of that yet, and I eat meat 3 times a day. Well, brother, just keep on, because it's going to hit you. It's just a matter of time. Because meat settles in the prostate gland of the men, and it will settle in your transverse colon and cause terrible, terrible colon problems in due time. Now, to go back to the fish or chicken thing, if we're eating fish, I suggest people eat salmon, mahi, orange roughy, halibut, cold water fishes that come from up north. Stay away from the Gulf fish. I know I was born and raised here on the Gulf. Fished my entire life out there. When they started building all those oil wells out there and they started producing all this mercury in the water, it got really bad about 15, 20 years ago. Thank God I quit eating beef when I was 17 because I got smart and started learning all this and never got caught up into the Gulf water fishes, but all my friends did. Chicken should be free-range chicken. And the only reason I suggest you eat that once or twice a week because once again, even though it is a chicken, it still has the propensity to stay in the colon for about 6 to 7 days. So if you're eating meat 2 or 3 times a day, you're backing up your colon just because of what we said about how long it takes to clear the colon. So try to eat fish once or twice a week and chicken, some organic chicken maybe once or twice a week, and get the rest of your protein from your your legumes, your seeds, your nuts. Almonds, there's not a better nut out there than almond, because it is the only nut that is alkaline, so it's very, very good and healthy for you. Egg whites are good. Just make sure you pop the yolks out. Okay? When you're eating eggs, this is the rule of thumb for eggs. A lot of people say, oh, well, I heard the egg whites have salmonella in them and you could get poisoned. That's if you're drinking the egg whites. I know growing up as a bodybuilder, I did a lot of bodybuilding, a lot of competition bodybuilding, and still compete internationally as a martial artist. And a lot of things that I hear today are things that I was listening, hearing, and correcting people on 20, 25 years ago, just because people don't know. But when you're dealing with eggs, here's the rule of thumb for eggs. Cook your egg whites and eat them, but take your yolks and drink them raw. Why? Because once you take the yellow of a yolk and you heat it up to over 140 degrees, more than 8 minutes, it turns into cholesterol, turns into plastic in your veins, and you got some issues. So egg yolks should be drank in your juice first thing in the morning if you want to get good quality lecithin and good healthy cholesterol from the yolk. So take your whites and boil them or eat them. Scramble them if you want to. Scramble some egg whites in the morning. And take the yolks out and drink them. They will stimulate the brain. So a lot of people come to me and have brain problems or issues with the brain. Or even these young kids that are going to school trying to pass these SATs and ACTs. I always have them drinking egg yolks in the morning for breakfast with their black cherry juice or grape juice. Why? Because they'll increase your thinking capacity very, very quickly. And it's a good source of protein, and it doesn't have to be cooked. So when you're dealing with egg whites, make sure you keep that rule of thumb. Nut butter is something we use a lot of times in place of peanut butter, because peanut butter is poison. It's not good for the body. So I tell my people to take nut butters like almonds or walnuts, turn them into nut butter, and use that as a spread on Ezekiel bread if you want something healthy for your children, or even for yourself. But just stay away from peanut butter. Peanut butter is not good for you because it is what we call a mycotoxin. It is in my book. It will teach you that. And a mycotoxin can cause serious, serious problems with the body and the brain as well. When it comes to lentils, lentils should be eaten once or twice a week. They're very, very good for you. Sesame seeds are an incredible high source of amino acids, which is good for source of protein. So you can take sesame seeds and sprinkle them over your salads. Very, very good for you. So if you're interested in sesame seeds, don't shy away from them. Eat them. Number 5, do not drink cow's milk. Cow's milk destroys the lungs, bronchitis, asthma, any type of lung problems. How many people you know in here have, or that you may know has COPD? Okay. COPD is caused from 2 primary issues. Okay. One is milk or milk products, and the other one is smoking. If you combine the 2 together, when you get older, you may have some serious, serious ramifications from that. I know many, many people have COPD, and every patient I've ever seen, and that's not to say everybody does, it's to say every patient I've personally seen that has COPD has done large amounts of dairy during their life and or smoke at the same time. You're going to cause some serious issues. Cow's milk was not designed to be consumed by us humans. Why? Well, once again, let's go back to what I said a moment ago. Everything I say to you needs to make sense. If it doesn't, you don't need me as a naturopath or a doctor or whatever you want to call it. Cow's milk has a calcium molecule that's 5 times larger than the human cell. Okay? You cannot absorb calcium molecules in the human body. Cow's milk was designed to build a thick hide and thick hooves. I don't think any of us want any of that. I know I check my toenails daily, and they're not getting thicker. I quit drinking cow's milk when I was a kid because I was studying this. Most people thought I was crazy. I said, well, that's okay. Let's get out on the field and run, see who's the fastest. When I was 17 years old, I ran a 4.25 because I'd given up milk and I was studying the framework of the body. And I had a blessing. God gave me a tremendous blessing to have speed. And when my knees got taken away from me, I knew it was a higher calling. And that meant go to nutrition school and be the best nutritionist I could be in the world. So I followed the Lord's calling and kind of gave up on football and baseball. But, you know, I came back and started my martial arts career and succeeded in that. which is good because competition is something I enjoy and I love it. Eat, sleep, and breathe it, so it's a big part of my life. But cow's milk cannot be absorbed in the human tissue, so please stay away from it. It will cause tremendous asthma and bronchitis problems. I got some people that I train that play professional ball. I train a lot of professional athletes, Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, just a few of them. People I've trained back in the 80s. When they were the Oakland A's, I was a strength coach for them many years in the 80s out in Phoenix, Arizona. And I had a guy, some of you may know, by the name of Ben Johnson. Anybody heard of Ben Johnson? I trained him. One of the fastest men on his feet. But you know what ruined Ben Johnson? Steroids. Let me tell you what happened. I was in Phoenix, Arizona at Beauvais Health Fitness out there training some of the pitchers from Milwaukee Brewers one day, and this guy turned around, tapped me on the shoulder, turned around, he said, "You Dr. Steger?" I said, "Yeah." Turned around, I didn't know him from Adam. Of course, I'd seen him run before. I know he was awfully fast. I even wanted to take him out in the parking lot and run with him because back then I could run. And I said, "Can I help you?" He says, "Yeah." He goes, "I know some guys you train. I'd like for you to train me." I looked at him in the eye and I said, "There's two things you got to do if you want me to train you." He said, "What's that?" I said, "You got to get off of milk and quit eating beef." He looked at me and said, "How do you know I do that?" I said, "Because I can look at you and tell." He said, "You're hired." Right there on the spot. So I started training Ben. I got him from a 4.4 down to a 4.2 running in about 3 months. I got him off of milk. Why did milk change that? Because milk slows your reactions down in your human body. Slows your thinking down, slows your movement down in your body. So I tell all the kids that come to me that I train in sports, and I coached football for 12 years. I said, "You want to be fast?" I said, "Get off of milk." And the parents go, "Why? He needs his calcium. He's got to have his milk." I said, "Let me tell you what, ma'am. If you want to save your child, get him off of milk. I will show you something else you can do for your calcium. And watch what happens to their asthma. Watch what happens to their bronchitis. Watch what happens to their joints." I have little kids that come in as 5, 6 years of age I was coaching and had asthma. That's a sin. That's horrible. Nobody should have asthma. Nobody should have bronchitis. Nobody should have these diseases we're plagued with. God wants you to be healthy. And you will be if you listen to Him. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to argue with me. You got to listen to what's in that book right there and follow the Word. Okay? And if you take and get off of milk products, your thinking will be better. Your asthma, your bronchitis will disappear and go away. And you won't have any joint problems. Milk causes tremendous joint problems. So, with that being said, milk out the door. You got to get rid of it. Number 6, good foods with exercises. Without exercise is fatal living. In other words, everybody should be on some type of exercise program. If you feel like you can't do something, at least get on a treadmill, do some brisk walking, do some biking. I recommend biking because biking really is better for you than walking. Why? Because it's better for your quads, better for your glutes, which is your rear end, okay? Better for your knee joints. I've been through 4 major knee surgeries, and I know I rehabbed all my knee surgeries with a lot of biking, a lot of leg presses, and biking is just the way to go. Will help you. So if you can't, get into a gym, pump iron, work out, do a Bowflex or something. Try to do some brisk walking or biking every day. It's good for your heart. Number 7, fats. Always eat the foods with the fats they come with. What does that mean? Limit the intake of concentrated fats and oils. Use only unrefined cold-pressed oils. I recommend raw nuts. There goes the almonds again. Seeds and avocado is good fats. Stay away from your saturated fats, ladies and gentlemen, i.e. beef, pork, cow's milk. It's all saturated fat. It's poison that will destroy and ruin your body. Okay? If you want to eat good sources of fats, do just what that says right there. Do your unrefined olive oils on your salads. Don't cook in olive oil. Use it cold-pressed, extra virgin olive oil. A lot of people say, "Well, what are you cooking?" I don't cook in anything. I take a stainless steel pot or an iron pot, put it on the stove, put a little water, maybe just a little lemon juice in it, and cook in it. I don't use oils. I put oil on my salad after I eat it. Why? Because it hadn't been heated up. If you take olive oil, which is good for the body, sesame seed oil, which is by far the best of all oils. If you go overseas in China and Japan, they cook in sesame seed oil almost in everything they do. But it's very quick. You ever go into a Chinese restaurant, watch how quick they prepare your food? It doesn't take them 20 minutes to cook that food. About 4 or 5 minutes, you got some steamed food coming out there. because it hadn't been in the pan 8 to 10 minutes. So it didn't change the molecular structure of the oil. But if you're cooking, try to use stainless steel or iron and stay away from your oils. Because once you heat that oil up for more than 8 to 10 minutes, it turns into a cholesterol that your body cannot utilize. Clogs up your arteries. It's horrible for you. Stay away from cooking oils, especially Crisco, peanut oil. None of those are good for you. Unrefined cold-pressed oils are the only thing I recommend, and raw nuts. If you're eating raw nuts daily that have been soaked in water for 8 to 10 hours, or avocado, you're getting some good quality polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fats, which are healthy for your body, healthy for your heart. We need fats in our body, so don't take fats out, but you got to know what type of fats to eat. If you're eating good quality fats 2 or 3 times a day in the form of nuts, you're going to help yourself tremendously. Very, very good for the heart. It latches onto the bad fat in the veins and the arteries and pulls it out. So keep that in mind. Number 8, eat at least 3 hours before bedtime. Well, most people in this country are not getting to bed at the times that our parents did and grandparents did back when there was no light. Why do you think God designed 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of dark? Because our body, based off our circadian rhythm, was designed to go to bed at 6 o'clock in the evening. Woo! We're off that track, aren't we, a little bit? Why? Because modern intervention. The Lord said, let there be light, and there was light. He didn't say stay up all night either. Okay? So what happens is when we stay up till 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock at night, or we do shift work, and by the way, if any of you do shift workers live shorter lives than anybody in this country. Why? Because you're ruining the circadian rhythm of the body. I have a lot of people come to me and say, well, Doc, I can't give up my job. What am I going to do? I said, start praying. You got to find something different. And if you look at them, or you look at yourself, if any of you do in that position, I have a lot of friends of mine do it, and boy, they are never really, really feel good. Your body's not designed to sleep when that sun is up. It's designed to get some activity going, make some money, take care of your family. God wants us to work. He wants us to be healthy. Okay? And when that sun goes down, shortly thereafter, we should be laying that head down and going to sleep. Okay? Does that mean we're supposed to sleep 12 hours a day? Maybe not. I think from all the statistics and all the things I've seen and all the people I've lived with that are 140 plus years of age, they sleep in 8 or 9 hours a day. The clock in our body runs every hour and a half on a different rhythm. The resting rhythm of our body starts at 8 to 9 o'clock at night. If we can get to bed at 9 o'clock at night, no later, we will live longer, healthier, more productive lives. Does that mean I get to bed at 9 o'clock every night? No, I get to bed shortly after that because I don't get off work till 8 or 9 every night. Because I'm in at 5:30 in the morning and I work almost 16 hours a day every day taking care of people like you. I run a health club. We have a martial arts school. And so as soon as I get off, I come home, I play with my son, say what I got to say to my wife. Hello, love you, baby, go to bed. No. Try to get to bed as soon therefore after as possible. You don't see me staying up till 11 or 12 o'clock at night because I know what it does to the body. And I know that I don't feel good the next morning because I've got to get up. So I try to get that 7.5 hours every night and get up and at work at 5:30 every morning. I wake up, eat a good breakfast, I'm at work. I'm eating every 3 hours. Eating every 3 hours is very important because the colon empties itself. If you eat correctly, not beef and white flour, every 3 to 4 hours it starts to eliminate out of the stomach and goes into the colon. If we eat healthy, the colon totally eliminates itself every 18 hours. Totally. That's if you're eating what we're supposed to. Now, sometimes if you walk around or you look at certain people and they always feel bloated and always got indigestion, always got problems, that's because if you look at what they've been eating, it all fits the bill. They're eating the wrong foods daily, all the time. Take someone and let them fast for one day, and you don't have to do just straight water, but just a juice fast, and watch how much different they feel just the next day because they're getting all this stuff moving along. This fruit juice has these acids in it which helps push this material out of the body so it can start to speed up the transit time. you will just start to feel much, much better. That's the reason a colon cleanse is so important to do a couple times a year. Eating every 3 hours is very important. So if you wake up and you eat 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, a lot of people say, oh Lord, I'd be big as a house. No, you wouldn't. Not if you eat correctly. That's how I get most of my people to lose weight. The people that come to me that's got to lose weight, I've trained people with 700 pounds before. I knew a kid that was in Mobile. I didn't know there was anybody in Mobile 700 pounds. It was in a local high school. It was 200 pounds. He played linebacker at a local high school here in Mobile. And he was a good-looking kid, 210. Within 4 years after he got out of high school, he was 700 pounds. He lost his father. He went into depression. He was the only child like me. His dad was his best friend. And this kid started eating everything he could because he's so depressed. His mom called me up and said, Dr. Steer, I got a child. When this kid walked in, I'm thinking, I know this guy's face. I'd seen this kid before at ball. Not at my school. I was about 10 years older than him. But I'd seen him at a local high school because I was a strength coach at about 3 or 4 high schools here in Mobile. And I know a lot of kids, and I still do. And this kid, I'd remembered his face before. I'm like, this kid, I know this guy. When he told me he was and where he went to school and who he played ball for, I was like, you're kidding me. I used to watch you walk down the street. Yeah, that's me. God, boy, it broke my heart to see this kid. Put him on a program, made him lose about 400 pounds pretty quickly. He got to about 350, 360 pounds, was doing good. And then his mom and him left to move town, and I stay in touch with him occasionally, but he hadn't gone down any further because he never really stayed focused on that. It's kind of hard when they're not. Sometimes people need that little push, that little shove, and he was here so I could see him all the time, and I got him in the gym, got him started riding a bike. This guy was so big, by the time he walked from that front door to right here, he had to sit down quickly or else he'd just about fall out. So obviously I couldn't put this kid on a program until he lost about 150, 200 pounds. That's what I did. I got him down very quickly, started dropping his weight, he started eating healthy, started eating 6 meals a day. And then we got his weight down, we started him on an exercise program riding a bike. He couldn't ride the bike 60 seconds when I first started him. Then I got him up to 15 and he started exercising, doing pull downs, working out. But eating every 3 hours is very, very important to your health. Your body will thank you for it. Number 9, eat smaller portions, 6 small meals a day instead of 3 large ones. That's the key. What do kids do when they're born? What do kids do when they're 12 months old, 1 year old, 2 years old? Aren't they nursing every 2 to 3 hours, Mom? Why do we change that when we get them over to food, to breakfast, lunch, and dinner? That is the downfall of the human framework, the body. Well, we were born and raised to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner 3 times a day, 3 square meals. Well, what happens every 6 hours in between that? Don't you get hungry? Absolutely. Then why do you go over there and grab a donut on the way down the road or a honey bun at a local food market? Because it's convenient. That's the reason they call them conveniency shops. Okay? And our country's dying from these conveniency shops. There's a pharmaceutical store on every corner to give you some more drugs for your metabolic disease. What if we had a drive-through nutrition store every 1.5 miles or 2 down the road? Don't you think as a nation we'd be much healthier? That'd be awesome. Drive-through nutrition place, grab you a couple of vitamins and a protein shake. We're on our way, honey. Can you imagine that being the talk? Instead of, we got to go to McDonald's, my kid's having a Big Mac attack. Come on. Mackie D's. You got to be kidding me. I drive down the road and see all these fast food restaurants. And I'm thinking, well, our country's in trouble. Real trouble. At the conveniency of your pocketbook. If we all stopped eating fast foods every day, how long do you think this place would be in business? And you may be a franchise owner. I'm not trying to put you out of business. But let me tell you something. Lord help you. Switch over to something else that the Lord's going to bless you. And He may have blessed you financially. And if you got a McDonald's, you're doing pretty good. Or Burger King. But bottom line is we got to switch to 6 smaller meals a day. Eating every 3 hours. Eat something healthy that's good and beneficial for your body so your body won't crave something that's harmful for your body, because your body's going to be craving something. It's craving good quality food. But when we don't eat good quality foods, as most Americans do, they reach out there and grab whatever they can. And they're putting empty calories in their body, which goes back to white refined sugar and refined white flour again, just to feel that, oh, I'm good now for a couple hours. Well, what did you just put in your body? Does it serve a purpose? No. I've always told myself, my people around me, if it doesn't serve a purpose in my body, I don't want it in my body. Period. Some people think that's a little strict, but you know what? Remember, I've never been sick. You don't see me coughing or sneezing. That don't mean I'm any better than you. That just means I have worked my entire life on this temple. You have a temple. Lord wants you to take care of it. And if you don't, who's going to? The devil. He's waiting on you right outside that door. And he's going to do whatever he can to say, ooh, there's a Burger King sign. It's flashing. Ding, 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 ding. And you drive down the road, and boy, that right-hand turn right on in there. I remember when I was 17, I was bodybuilding, getting ready for my first bodybuilding show, and my best friend was driving. And we're driving down the road. We're on this diet, getting cut up and leaned out for the show. And we're driving right up the street from my house. There's a Krispy Kreme, used to be, and that's a cash place right up on Government and Azalea. A lot of y'all know where that Krispy Kreme used to be if you live here. We were driving down the road, and he whips in that Krispy Kreme donut, and I looked at him. I said, what are you doing? He said, man, I'm dying to have a donut. This diet's killing me. I said, man, we're 6 weeks from a major show. He said, I don't care. I'm going to get me some donuts. We whipped in there. I looked at him like he was crazy. I said, man, you're out of your mind. You can't withstand that donut. No, man, I smell them. They got some fresh ones cooking over there. Anybody ever seen that little red sign at Krispy Kreme going, fresh, hot donuts?
You're making me hungry.
Not me, brother. I can handle it. You know why? Because the Lord is testing me, not tempting me like the devil. All right, let's move on here. Number 10, do not drink cold water with your meals. 3 to 4 ounces of room temperature water only. Cold water freezes the villi in the small intestine. If you drink anything cold with your meals, your body will not digest that food properly. Real simple. Drink room temperature water with your meals, and not a lot of it. What is the first thing you do when you go out to dinner? What do they put in front of you? Big old ice water, and hopefully you'll order something else. Because water's free, and hopefully you'll get some iced tea or something else with that. Well, guess what? You just ruined your dinner.
Like coffee.
Coffee is poison. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay. Now, we'll get to coffee in a minute. I see a lot of people laughing. Cold fluids of any type is very, very harmful to your digestion process. When you drink fluids, make sure it is small amounts of water with your meals, room temperature only, just enough to wash it down. If you drink too much, you're going to ruin your digestive enzymes that are waiting for this food in the stomach so your body can't break it down. So stay away from cold fluids, regardless of what it is. And once again, by now you should know the only thing I recommend you eat or drink is water. So water is what you should be primarily drinking with your meals and throughout the day. Number 11, always try to buy organic vegetables, no canned foods. Well, there's a lot of companies out there now that are producing organic canned foods. And if you have to do organic and you feel like you got to do canned, at least do organic canned foods. We always suggest our patients and people around the country that I take care of do organic, fresh first, organic, frozen second, then organic canned third. Just stay away from most of the store-bought items as well as your canned foods. Number 12, supplement your diet with fiber, enzymes, antioxidants, and minerals to compensate for have eaten incorrectly in the past and prevent problems in the future. A lot of people out there now don't eat enough fiber, which causes colon problems. Your body's ruined. You don't have the proper enzymes anymore to break down food. Antioxidants. Well, you know, there's a lot of anti-everything out there nowadays, especially antibiotics, which are not healthy for you. But if we'll stick with antioxidants, A, C, and E, selenium, superoxide, dismutase, there's a lot of different ones out there that are very, very helpful for the body. It will help you compensate for this environment that we live in through our improper eating and all the environmental poisons and toxins that we breathe every day. So the antioxidants will help you fight that and get those out of your system. So try to compensate your body with a good quality antioxidant, fiber through our food, and good quality minerals. Number 13, eat natural sweets such as dates. Revive other dried fruits, including raisins, figs, and prunes. What does that mean? If you're going to eat these, if you eat things that are shriveled up long enough, what's going to happen to you? You're going to shrivel up. They're good for you, but if you eat these types of foods, put them in boiling water and bring them back to a plump, healthy position because you put the water back in the fruit. It's good for you. So boil them for a few minutes, get them plump, and eat them. That puts the water back inside of them, so when you eat it, you don't get dehydrated yourself. A lot of people eat dates and raisins and figs, and they're good for your body. Figs are all in the Bible, listed, I think, 24 different times as one of the most important things to have. Why? Because they're an enzyme. Figs are loaded in enzymes. They're good for you. If you're trying to lose weight, though, don't eat figs or dates. Okay, dates are almost like candy. A lot of people I put on diet, especially my bodybuilders, who start eating dates after I've gone for 12, 14 weeks without any type of sugar. They eat dates. They're like, man, this is like candy. They start eating these dates, and before you know it, they're eating a whole box. I said, I didn't eat the whole box. I said, eat 5. Well, I just couldn't put them down. Dates are very sweet naturally, so you don't need any type of sugar dipped on them, which most of them have powdered sugar dipped on them nowadays, so be careful with that. But just revive those types of fruit if you're eating those. Use raw honey, maple syrup, and fruit concentrates as your sugar. No refined sugar. As we talked about, the refined sugar destroys the thymus gland and is poisonous to the system. Number 14, use fresh herbs for flavoring. No salt, pepper, aspartame, Splenda, equal, etc. A lot of people say salt and pepper. I'll put that on everything I eat. Well, it goes back to the salt issue, but let me tell you a little about pepper. Black pepper is an irritant to the entire body. It is also non-digestible by the liver. Black pepper will ruin your liver. So what do? Do white pepper or do cayenne pepper or your red peppers, cut them up and grind them. You can eat them in an herb form if you want, but just stay away from black peppers. When we're dealing with fresh herbs, herbs are a totally different ballgame. I remember when I first started studying nutrition in the human body many years ago, I didn't study herbs because I really wanted to focus on nutrition. And first 7 or 8 years, I really did. I focused so heavily on nutrition. I remember when I first went to school in California, if anybody's ever been to school knows that most times when you go to school, they'll only allow freshmen to take 12 to 15 hours when you get started because they don't want you to get overloaded. I was real confident with myself. I was really headstrong, and I'd been studying, like I said, my whole life, really. So here's a 17-year-old kid going to California to study nutrition. I asked the counselor, I never remember, Miss Linda Bunting was my counselor in California, San Diego. And she says, son, she goes, what do you how many hours do you think you can handle? I said, how many can you give me? She goes, well, most of our freshmen are going to take about 15 hours. 18 is a full load. That's pretty heavy on a freshman. I said, well, give me 40. She said, son, you can't take 40 hours. I said, why not? I said, I come all the way out here to go to school. I want to go to school from the time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to bed at night. She goes, well, our first classes start at 8. I said, I want to be in there. She said, well, we finish. Most of our professors are off work by 5 or 6. I said, I want to be there when they close the door. I took 40-hour courses all the way through my first 2.5 years of college and got a PhD in 2.5 years. I went straight through. Didn't take a break in summer. Went straight through. It's a 7-year program. They said, that's never been done before. I said, put it on me. It was a calling. It was a blessing. I never had to study nutrition when I was going to school. Because when I read something, my mind was so photogenic, and it still is today. That's the reason in the martial arts field has helped me with that and bodybuilding. I can look at something one time, and I'll never forget that. It goes into a memory bank, just like yours. But it was truly a blessing for me. I would get out at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon and train people from 6 to 11 o'clock at night. Ooh, there goes that 11 o'clock thing. To make money, to pay for schooling, and put money in my pocket. So I went to school from 8 to 5 in the morning, took care of clients from 6 to 11 at night, training them, personally training them, making good money, training people, which is what I've done my whole life as a personal trainer. Paid my way through school, got out of there and hurried up, got back to Mobile and opened up my business. This is very important because when you're dealing with herbs, I found out about 7 or 8 years just how important it was because it was in the Bible. And Genesis 1:29 clearly tells us that. To use the herbs to heal the nations. So I started studying herbal medicine, went back to school, did biochemistry, went back to school, did naturopathic medicine, went back to school, got my master's in herbology. So I realized, man, I wish I'd have studied this 8 years earlier. Herbs have a valuable place in our society. Very, very good for healing. But they're good for seasoning your foods, but you got to know how to do it. When you do seasonings your foods with herbs, you have to be very careful because all herbs have the ability to move in 4 different directions. Herbs either travel up, they travel down, they travel in, or they travel out. How many of you ever had the butterflies, you got ready for an event, felt like you had to urinate? Whew, man, I got to go to the bathroom. Something's fixing to happen. I got to go to the bathroom. You know why? Because when your body's under pressure, your kidneys want to dump all the water into your bladder gets full, and you got to get rid of that out of the body. That's God's way of telling you, brother, you fixing to compete, we got to get ready for the event. You get that bladder empty so you can compete. Been there and done that, done it a lot. I don't get nervous because I've done this my whole life, but we have the ability to have to go use the restroom. Herbs will push that out of your body. If we're using herbs as a diuretic to move water out of the body, there's certain herbs we can use for that. There's certain herbs to heal the brain, certain herbs to heal the heart, certain herbs to push things into the body, certain herbs to push things out. So when we're seasoning our foods, you have to be very, very careful with herbs. I can talk about that a whole other day too, but if you're interested in doing something, Mr. Smith and some of the other people that we know here have done that, and we know that if you start combining the wrong herbs, you'll have the wrong effect on the body. So very, very carefully do you have to put herbs in your diet when you're cooking your foods. And that's, once again, that's a whole other seminar we can talk about on herbs, so be careful. Aspartame, Splenda, Equal, all those are poison. Stay away from them. Not good for your body. And if you work at the Splenda plant, Lord forgive me, but I have a friend of mine that works up there too, and once he told me, of course I'd known about it since the beginning of time when they built it, but he'd tell me what they used to build Splenda with, and when he told me that, that was just icing on the cake to me. And so I always tell people, stay away from these types of things. Not healthy for the body, not good for human consumption, and they're not going to serve any valuable purpose in the body at all. If you want a sweetener, use stevia. Stevia is a natural herb that God has given us to use. It is 100 times sweeter than refined sugar. It takes just a small amount. And now you're starting to see all these companies put stevia in their products. Even Coca-Cola is wanting to come out with a new formula. Well, how about that? And we're going to have new improved Coke with stevia in it now, so it's healthy to drink, right? Whew, okay, well, go ahead. But stay away from that. Number 15, when treating the body, remember physical, mechanical, chemical, nutritional, mineral, vitamin, emotional, and spiritual values. We can't forget about the spirit. Even though it's last on this, it's always first. It has to be number 1. Okay, because without God, none of this is possible. Number 16, consider a good elimination program for your colon and liver twice a year. We said that a moment ago. I'm going to tell you again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so important for you to cleanse your body periodically. God designed 4 seasons, didn't He? When those seasons change, it's time for us to change. Now, like I tell all my people down south, really, if you live in the South, you've been down here your entire life, you know that we really only have 2 seasons. Short winter and a real long summer. Okay? There's really not much of an in-between. Some of us are really enjoying this weather. I know I enjoy it. These 40 and 50 degree mornings are nice. But we don't see it long. It usually gets hot or cold, and our cold weather's not here very long. But because of that, we can afford to do 2 cleanses a year down here and 2 nutritional programs. But all my patients that I see up north, up in Maine and Boston and New York and Minnesota and on the West Coast, I really put them on 4 nutrition programs a year and 4 cleanses because they have the season to do that. Different fruits, different vegetables, different types of rice, things that your body needs to change to. You can't eat the same foods in the winter you do the summer and a lot of things, or else you'll destroy your organs. That's another subject too. Very in-depth, very important. Please remember that. Consider the elimination program twice a year down here in the South. The times of the year for that should be March 24th and September 23rd, when the summer and the winter equinox hits. Very important. Number 17, take charge of your skin and brush it daily. The skin eliminates 2 pounds of waste each day. Woo! You must keep it clean. Soap and water cannot do this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're bathing with the world's greatest organic skin soap, that's fine. I commend you for that. However, you need to brush the skin with a dry bristle brush twice a day. Once in the morning when you wake up, and once before you go to bed at night. Why? Because when you go lay down in bed at night, if you have not skin brushed, your body will eliminate dead skin in the mattress of your bed. If you don't believe me, get a hold of a Kirby vacuum cleaner salesman. Let him watch him vacuum your bed. I've had a Kirby my whole life, and I remember watching him do that when I was a young kid. My mom bought one, and then I tell people, I said, you better call Kirby. They'll show you what's in that mattress. That mattress will build up with so much skin, dead skin cells. We wonder where we get these mites from, these dust mites. It cause allergies with people. We get it from our dead skin falling off the body at night when we go to bed. Okay, so if you brush the skin at night before you go to bed, that won't happen. Your mattress will be cleaner, your skin will be cleaner, you won't develop these rashes. A lot of patients that come in have rashes all over the body. A lot of this is due to improper eating and lack of skin brushing. And a lot of it's just due to antibiotics, different things that are poisons or chemical trying to come out of the skin, trying to come out of the body. The skin is the biggest elimination channel in the body. It can only work so hard. But when you see a problem with the skin, you know there's a problem inside the body going on, because the skin's an outward manifestation of the skin turned inside out. So if you have problems with the colon, you see people with problems with skin. I've had people come in that's got alligator skin. You know anybody that's got alligator skin? Anybody ever seen that? It's horrible. The skin is so thick with scaly, their whole body, that they can't hardly sit down without bleeding. They can't touch anything. I've had them come in my office. We had to put towels and plastic over our chairs before they even sat down, because they warned me before they come in. I got alligator skin. I said, I know all about it. When I was staying with Dr. Bernard Jensen out in California in the 80s before he passed away, we had that in our sanitarium. We saw it daily, and we knew their colon was clogged up. Their skin would be so bad around their ankles they couldn't put socks and shoes on. And we put them on an elimination program, a good diet, and within about 2 or 3 months it would start clearing up. Well, I did this for a guy local here in Mobile one time. Only guy in Mobile I've ever seen that had it. Put him on a good program, and within about 3 to 4 months he called me. He was just crying. He was so ecstatic. He could wear his clothes. He could go out in public. He could do things now. And it took about a year to completely heal this guy. But it was a long road. But he had to get rid of the things he was doing: the coffee, the teas, the milk, pork chops. He had a lot of pork chops. I never will forget that. And anyway, we got this guy cleaned up, and within about a year, he had very, very little scarring on his skin at all. He had this all the way up to his neck. It was horrible. So if you don't eliminate properly through your skin channels, then you're going to have some issues. Make sure that you skin brush at least once a day. If you can do twice a day, it's good. You can go get these dry bristle brushes at the health food store. We carry them in our place, but you can go anywhere. If you're from out of town, just go to your local health food store and tell them you want a skin brush. Start brushing. Start with the bottom of your feet and brush all the way to the top of the shoulders. Brush the skin twice daily. It will help you considerably. It will help you with your entire health format of holistic health. We hope that through the 17 major things we talked about today, we can reach out and touch some of you and help some of you change something about your life. If there's only 1 or 2 things you change and start on today that will help you. And so I know you got your hand up back there. Do you want me to answer or talk to you now, or you want to talk to me later? I'll be glad to.
Just a quick one, actually.
Absolutely.
Water? Drinking boiled water.
I'm sorry?
Drinking boiled water instead of cold water.
Okay.
Is that good or bad?
Well, let me just ask you a question now. Why would you want to drink boiled water?
They say hot water is good for them. I'm not really boiled, but hot water.
Yeah, another warm water. Yes, warm water is good. Once again, going back to China and Japan, I know that I did not only study through nutrition, but I did all my internship with Kung Fu. I have a master's in Kung Fu. I was the youngest American to ever get a master's from the Shaolin Temple in Kung Fu over there. And when we trained, it was interesting because over here we're used to drinking cold water. Cold water actually is not good for the body anytime, because if you're trying to train and you drink cold water, It heats up the body more because your body's got to heat it up to bring it down so you sweat more profusely. I watched all the Chinese people drink warm water and hot tea while we was drinking, and they stayed cool as a cucumber. And I thought that was interesting. So I started drinking room temperature water with them. And I've never sweat much because I've gotten rid of a lot of the toxins out of the body through proper dieting, proper eating my entire life. So everybody always asks, man, you're not sweating? We've been out here in the sun for 10 hours. And I've had to go through 3 shirts. Well, most of that is because the elimination of the skin was very healthy, very clean. But warm water is good for the body. Not hot. Boiling the water doesn't help you unless you're trying to kill something in it. Okay? Just stay away from that kind of water anyway. But warm water is good for you. It's good for your nutrients. It's good to drink all day long. So I just always bring room temperature water with me everywhere I go. And even if I try to go to a restaurant, which is very few that I can eat at, I bring my bottle of water in with me, or my wife packs it in her purse. And we take our water in the restaurant, and I drink our own. It helps. And that just has something to do with something I tell my athletes and kids I train. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be healthy? You know, it's all up to you. God has given you every tool imaginable to take care of your body. If you want to be healthy, you can be healthy. The choice is yours. Just like what Mr. Smith is teaching and preaching to you about and helping educate you, really is the words, educating you. And hopefully you'll see the light so you can carry that with you. Is really, how bad do you want to be healthy? My whole life I wanted to be healthy. So when I looked at all these kids smoking and drinking and going to the wayside and having problems, I said to myself, I'm not going to be one of them. You know, and so therefore I've devoted my entire life to this right here, because I've realized and watched other people pass away, okay, and when I did pathological exams on these people and cut them open and sliced them and diced them and looked at their tissues in the body and realized what mineral deficiencies they had, you could clearly see and identify what their problems were. I'm going to end on this point. In 1987, I watched my father pass away in about 5 hours. He had an aorta aneurysm. I already had one doctorate degree. And when I asked the physicians that was doing surgery on my father what caused the aneurysm, part of my question was a twofold. I wanted to see if he knew. I was going to test him out. And I want to see if he'd offer me some more valuable knowledge. Had 3 of them in the room with me after my dad passed away. And none of them could answer that question. I said, now, let me tell you what causes it. And I told them. They said, really? I was 25. I said, that's what causes aneurysms. So I went back to school, got another doctorate, went back to school. I kept studying because that wasn't good enough for me. And if it wasn't for my wife begging me not to go back to school, and I'd go back to school and get another doctorate degree. She goes, but why, honey? I love to study. I've studied my whole life, and that's what I do because I want to help people like you get better. I want to continue to help myself get better in other aspects as well. If there's something I feel like I don't quite have mastered yet, there's only one real master, and that's the man above. So I continue to study and work on these things so I can help people like you when you come to me with questions. My foot's falling off, my nail's falling off. What do I do? I'll tell you what you do. We help them get well. There's 2 types of doctors. There's a businessman and there's a healer. Okay, I'm a healer. I've done this my whole life. And if any of you are interested in asking me any questions, specifically or non-specifically, I'd be glad to see you back there at the back table. I have a book out, I have a CD, I have 2 CDs out, number 1 and number 2. And if you read my book, I think you'll be enlightened 20 times over what I just told you today. I'd like to thank Mr. Smith once again for letting me come out and speak to you. And I hope that you will all use some of this knowledge that we gave you today in some form or capacity to help you better yourselves or someone in your family. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me to come out and be with you today. Thank you so much.